So today I'm going to be talking you through one of the best action camera helmet setups with audio that you can buy in 2026. So if you're looking to capture point of view rides or even start making moto vlogs on your bike, but you don't know what helmet camera and action camera setup to use, I'll be talking you through my setup with the DJI Action 6 with audio and telling you everything that you need to be buying to make this work. Before we get started, here's a couple little clips that I've recorded with this setup and audio as well. So first up is the mount itself. I'm going to put the camera away and we'll get onto that in a minute. So the helmet I'm using is a HJC Rafa 11 carbon. And on the bottom of it, I've got a RideTech chin mount. There are other brands available, like chin mounts themselves, or even cheap ones from Amazon. But the best thing about this, it's secured with 3M tape, it's 3D printed, so it's nice and lightweight, and it is absolutely stuck on there like glue. I've had this on for about a year and a half. Never had any issues with it coming off. Now this is of course a GoPro mount, so it uses one of these little slide and catch pieces like this. So it slides in and clicks into place. And this bit here, I'll go a little bit closer, is just a cheap one from Amazon, but it's got this curved and extended bit, and there's a little extension on there as well. On top of that is the little magnetic clip for the DJI Action 6. Your Action 6 will come with the magnetic clip, but this part you can find on Amazon. If you just type in GoPro mounts, you should see curved ones like this, which allows it to sit back flush against the helmet instead of being, upside down. Personally, I prefer it to sit up here because if any wind hits it, it's pushing it back against the helmet. So you're already at the perfect angle, it's not going to mess up the angle. But because sometimes if I find it's mounted underneath and you haven't tightened one of the screws fully, it will push itself back with the wind and your angle will be all messed up. And yeah, this angle up here feels a little bit truer to what I'm actually seeing. So next up is the camera itself. It attaches with the magnetic system and locks in place. And then I can just slide it on to my chin mount. Set the angle, make sure it's all nice and tight. You'll see how it kind of sits and the angle it's at, which I find is perfect for recording POV stuff and motovlog stuff. Obviously you can change it yourself, it's all adjustable, but it sits back flush against the helmet, so any wind pushing it isn't going to change my angle. And yeah, that's kind of what it looks like on the helmet. Now the camera itself, DJI Action 6. These just released in late 2025. Absolute beast of a camera. I want to say it's one of the best action cameras you can buy at the moment. The only other camera that comes close is the Ace Pro 2. Obviously, personal preference on what you get. You could get this, Ace Pro 2, Hero 13. Choice is yours, but I'm going to be going through my settings for the Action 6. So I've got nothing additional on the camera other than an ND16. It's relatively bright today, and I like to get smooth motion blur, so I have the ND on. I'll get onto that a bit later, but I'll be going through my settings now on this camera. So in terms of resolution, I use 4K 30 and I shoot in 4:3. This gives me a little bit more room top and bottom in case I want to use it for social media clips as well. This did just get an update for 8K 16:9. I don't use this myself because the file sizes are a bit too big. Everyone's watching on YouTube in 4K and on 4K displays anyway. It is a little bit too much. If you want to use it, obviously, of course you can. Just be wary that the file sizes are a whole lot bigger than what you might be used to. Then I have Rocksteady on, and then I also have it set to ultra wide. So this gives you a nice wide point of view for when you're riding. I have these settings on Pro, so I've got the most amount of customizability for white balance, exposure, and D-log. Talking about white balance, it has got the little sensor for capturing white balance. That is why I actually leave auto white balance on. If I didn't want auto white balance on, I'd set it to manual and I would then put it to 5500 Kelvin, which is outdoor daylight temperature. But because the auto white balance is so good on this thing, I do just leave it on auto and it always comes out looking nice. Exposure is set to manual, and in here, because I've got an ND, it allows me to put the shutter speed on 1/60. This is double my frame rate of 30 FPS, and this gives me that nice smooth motion blur. You're seeing it now on this camera because that's in 6K 30 with a 180-degree shutter. The 1/60 is also called the 180-degree shutter rule, blah, blah, blah. Put it on if you want the nice smooth motion blur like this, but you will need an ND to do so. Then I've got the ISO set to manual/auto. It's set between 100 and 1600. The best would be 100, but going in darker areas like this, you know, you want it to be able to bump itself up so you're not shooting underexposed. I've not really tested it up to, you know, the higher ones like 3200, 6400. I've only been leaving it on this because I'm shooting in daylight. Obviously, if you want to shoot at night, you'd bump it up to the night mode and you take the ND off, but I only really shoot it in the day. So that's my exposure. Obviously for color, I'm using D-Log-M 10-bit because I like to do some post-production and color grading, make it look nice. D-Log-M gives you a bit more flexibility. Color recovery is off, but if you're not that hot on color grading, you can just set it to normal 10-bit and it will still look great. So in the log mode, I'm pretty sure it locks off the variable aperture. I have mine set to fixed f2.8. You could go to 2.6, but the minimum focus distance changes when you do that. It goes from 35 centimeters to 40, and because the bike's, you know, only over here, I don't want that to be out of focus, so I've just lowered it a little bit so I get some more minimum focus distance. Plus, it's an action camera. You're not going to get, you know, blur like this big DSLR that I've got in front of me. And then on the image adjustment, I have texture on -2, noise reduction on -2 as well. Just because I don't like all the digital post-processing it does to the image, it makes it look sometimes too sharp, and sometimes, you know, the denoise, I'd rather do it in my own denoise software like DaVinci Resolve. And if I wanted to add some sharpness back in, I can do so. Because I record audio in the helmet and with an external microphone, I just keep the channel on mono and the wind noise reduction on high in the audio settings. And that is basically it. That is the settings I use to capture footage like I've shown you previously. Of course, these might not be the best settings for everyone, so have a little play about, see what works for you, and just experiment. But this would be a good baseline for anyone looking to get into using this camera. So next up is audio. What am I using to capture exhaust noise and to capture my voice as well? Well, I'm using the Rode Wireless Pro microphones. I've got one attached here. So how this is attached is there's a hot shoe mount, which is stuck on with 3M tape, and this just slides into that. Then there's a lavalier microphone, which you can see hopefully, runs under and is tucked into the cheek pad of my helmet. It's what you're listening to me on now. I do some post-processing on this with Adobe Podcast. Also, I would recommend doing denoising because this still picks up exhaust noise, and I have a separate channel for the exhaust noise. So I like to denoise my voice so there's no exhaust tone in it, and then separate them so I can adjust the levels. But that's basically where I have it. And then this is a separate microphone with the Rode Wireless Pros. It's got a wind fluff on it, and then what I'll do is wrap it in a microfiber cloth. I'll put it in a bag, I'll put it under the seat, you know, I'll put it in my waist bag and point it at my exhaust, because this is what I use to capture exhaust audio. You do have a receiver with these, but because they record internally, I can just start recording it by pressing this button here. I don't need the receiver, I just set them going. Obviously, the receiver will simultaneously set them going and sync them, but sometimes I just like to be able to press them on my helmet and get it going. And then in post-processing, I will, like I said, denoise this so there's no exhaust noise, and I'll use this for exhaust audio so I can turn this up and down when I need to. So not everyone wants to spend that much on this helmet setup, so the one thing I would say is not 100% necessary is the Rode Wireless Pros. Other things that you can use to capture audio would be the Cardo, for example. It's got a microphone, and I'm pretty sure in the Cardo app you can set it up to record your voice. So you could use that. And then for capturing exhaust noise, in the past, I've used my iPhone and I've set it to the Voice Memos app, wrapped it in a cloth, put it in a bag under the seat, and that also captures exhaust noise as well. So then you could combine the Cardo and the phone audio to create this kind of like I would with the Rode Wireless Pros. Won't be as good because these are 32-bit float and that exhaust is pretty loud, so you might get a bit of clipping, but it's basically a free option because most people have a Cardo and everyone's got a phone. And yeah, that is basically my entire setup for recording motovlogs and POV rides. So just a little recap, we got RideTech chin mount, GoPro mounts for the DJI Action 6, ND16 on the Action 6, sometimes change it to ND8 on a really cloudy day, sometimes change it to ND32 on a really sunny day. Obviously play about with it. I'll put a recap of all my settings on the screen now. And then for microphones, Rode Wireless Pro set with the lavalier mic in the helmet and a mic in my bag or under the seat of the bike. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions about this setup, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. And what I'm going to do now is put in some nice POV rides with this setup just so you can see what it is capable of. And yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.